The Orange Dark Terror is one of my favorite amplifiers of all time, not just for the fact that it is a petite size lunchbox amp, but because you can pull some really inspiring rock tones and metal tones out of it. So I want to show you how to dial it in. This is one of the more straightforward videos in this kind of sense, in that the amp, as you can see, only has 3 knobs. However, this shape feature in the middle does the work of a 3-band EQ essentially. It's essentially like having a continuous sort of set of presets in there. So let's have a listen to what we can do. I'm going to set it on the 15 watt mode. I'm going to leave the master volume at noon for now, and we will start with the EQ at noon and the drive at about, what, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Hopefully you can see it on the screen there. This is my SCR LJ1 bridge pickup. Sounds like this. So as you can hear there, it is super tame. What you have to do with this amp, and I find the trick is, when you're setting it up with the master volume at around noon, which is normally loud enough, I find, for most gigs, especially if you're miking an amp up, is just finding the sweet spot if you want an edge of breakup tone with the gain control. So what I'll do is just you can hear there that it is just starting to get a bit of grit happening in there. So that's where I like to set the gain. You know, if I was doing like a 3-set cover gig or something like that, I'd set the gain there and then kick a pedal on in front of it to play solos. And then we basically have to play around with the shape control. So with it all the way this way, it sounds like so. Sort of very mid-focus, but it's lacking a little bit of low end. And then if we go to the other extreme, we're clearly pulling out way too much mid and boosting too much bass. So for me, I find the sweet spot is somewhere between noon and all the way up. And again, just sort of playing around with it, and it's quite sensitive, so edging it up. And I find that's sort of the sweet spot. It's probably a little bit too scoop, but again, if you've got a big pedal board and you've got a mid-boost pedal or a tube screamer or something like that, slam that in front of that and you're going to have plenty of mid-range going on. Now, once we've set that up, you can sort of go nuts if you want to get a metal tone and get the gain. It gets really, really dirty really quick. Like if we go from where we had it before to about noon, it's going to sound like this. final thing you can play around with is a 7-watt mode, which just adds way more compression and kind of sag. I think this is really cool, with the gain a little bit lower and a bit more mid-range in the amp. So there you go, really simple operation, 3 knobs. There is an effects loop on there, which is really, really handy. Running a graphic EQ in the loop is really handy. Hitting the front end with a tube screamer with this kind of AC/DC sort of crunch basically gives you an amp that you can gig with, and I had probably gigged with this for maybe about a year as my main amp for doing smaller gigs. I was doing fly dates and stuff like that because I could just carry it onto the plane, check my guitar in, carry that, have, you know, an Eventide H9 and tube screamer in like my carry-on, and then I could go. And I'm using the AX8 now, which is obviously a far easier solution, but this is still kind of my go-to backup rig if anything should happen to that, which hasn't. But I really like the old Dark Terror, even though it's sort of like touted as a lunchbox metal amp. I think its best application is actually for those sort of crunchy AC/DC sort of tones that you can either use your volume control to clean up, or you can kick a boost in front of for more of a high gain kind of sound. And it obviously does the super scooped metal thing more towards, to me this is like Mastodon in a box with that kind of setting. You know, when you get the gain all the way up, or a band like Sleep or something like that, you know, you just have these disgusting thick riffs happening, and it's a whole lot of fun to Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, check out my other clips. Cheers!